knowledge for country history. Okay, so if something like very awak panggil harta karun panggil apa? Treasure to the countries, then you put the material on the archival repository. And next one is the research repository. Research repository is nowadays can be put under many brand and known like Zenodo, ResearchKit, F1000 research. This kind of research repository is remarks or to get attention not only for the public knowledge but also your own clique, which is research clique or your future new student that going to be your supervisor. Okay, so this kind of material need to put on this repository. This kind of repository like Zenodo, ResearchKit, and F1000 research. Another one, the latest one, we call it as research data repository. Research data repository can be two types. One is the general type of subject research data repository, which is they have a lot of features and can be opened through multidisciplinary. Okay. Another one is a specific subject research data repository, which is focused on the certain topic or what they call society, based on the learned society, based on the professional society. For example, librarianship, we have one repository, data repository, we call it as RSLIs, which is based on Spain. So any research about librarianship, we put there, and the focus on the certain or the focus on the librarianship field. For example, another example is genome sequence archive. This is one of the research data repository that focus on genomic research. Okay, next is the ownership. Whenever you use any repository services, you have to check whether the ownership is based on the public-owned organizations or private-owned organizations. Okay, if public-owned organization like this one, Zenodo, is developed by the Sendut Institute, means that the system is maintained using the public money, the public fund, which is came from the taxpayer money, from the European Commission and so on. Similar like Malaysia here, we usually use under university. So every university they have a fund, something fund, management fund, and maintain the system to run the repository services. Another one is private-owned organization, whereby the system is owned by the certain company, usually the international publisher company that have developed their own repository services. For example, Mendeley. So, if you use either the public-owned or the private-owned, they have different benefits. But for the public-owned organization repository services, usually the benefits is in terms of ownership of the public institutions, which is they control the security and trust among us. So when we work at the university, for example, University of Science Malaysia is the public institutions. So we have a better understanding within intra G2G institutions. Another one is in terms of webometrics. When you use the public fund repository services, means that you contribute in terms of ranking of webometrics and the impact of the institution performance. Another one is in terms of you helping more easy in terms retrieve the evidence base for your content whenever having any kind of evaluation, especially for MIRA, Malaysian Research Assessment. So when you put your own evidence base of research and your research writing in the repository services that owned by the public organization, the evaluation much better can be executed or implemented. Right. So next one is the difference functionality differences. Okay. I take some of the example here. The common one is a Google Scholar. Google Scholar is function as a repository to store the researcher's record, to recognize you as the identical research that expert on the certain field, and then it works as indexer, 2-in-1, okay. And the compliance of these repository services the currently is working as a hybrid, means that because it is owned by the private agencies, means that they have commercial value there. They're controlled by the Google, and however they still support the open science practices. The second one is similar like Google Scholar, but similar like Google Scholar, but they call it as ORCID here. So ORCID is similar function with the Google Scholar, but they're not having an indexer function. So whereby whenever people search your name on Google, the finding will first appear on Google Scholar, not ORCID. ORCID can be having function as a single sign-on for other services, for other website services. Okay, I will show you later. However, it support the compliance, the practices. When you do your research, it functions as a commercialization of your profile as a researcher, as well as the open science. The next one is Zenodo. It's owned by the CERN, and as you can see, it stores everything related to your research, whether you are having a case study, conference proceeding. If you are organizer, if the school is organizer of the conference, want to index the conference paper, you can use the Zenodo. It will index and give high visibility in terms of the paper itself. Next one is the Mendeley. Mendeley now have two functions. One is as a research data repository services. Another one helping as the bibliographic services. Okay, it means that they will help you in terms of manage the citation more easily. And it helps in terms of highlight the literature research and helping your managing your bibliography citations. And it compliance with the commercializations as you as a researcher, as well as open science. Next one is ResearchGate. It also store everything, scholarly works, but it appear you the researcher as a researcher profile, as well as the organization's profile, and it will enhance your capability in terms of research networking, and the compliance is open science. Next one is Figshare, a general research data repository that store the research data that you share, and it's purposely for data sharing only lah, and it's compliance with the hybrid commercializations as well open. Next one is YouTube, any kind of the social media. As for your information, this I call it as a repository because it stores the audio-visual content, and when you put the audio-visual content related to the research material, the hits is very high. And many researchers, when they do this kind of approach and store any kind of the audio-visual content, they're having what called high views and high citation impact. And I seen that company like organization like National Geographic also having a connection and store their content through the social media, especially Twitter. Okay, now and having highly hits in terms of viewing and what called cited on the Twitter. Last one is the open repository that is the open repository at USM, which is the IPRIN, the institutional repository based in USM, and it preserves any kind of the material related to the members of the institutions, including the postgraduate students. If you having good publication and you want to make it more visible in Google Scholar, you can use the IPRINs or what you call IPRINs or open repository at USM. This is my case study that I try, do the publications and having a citations here, although I not choose any kind of journal that listed of Scopus. And the impact of visibility and citation still available. Although I'm not, I'm not publish any Scopus journal, index journal, when I use the repository services properly, I still having citations. Okay, so this is kind of things impact that I want to show to you. When you use accordingly the repository services, then you still get impact. Okay. Right. Another things about when you use the properly repository services, link with indexer like Google Scholar, the with plus with the Scopus and impact, the citations still what call high lah. Okay. Although my work only accept Scopus, but in public knowledge, in the inclusive impact, which also evaluate by the SDG, okay, the citation impact is huge lah, massive lah kan. Okay. Right. So next one is about the single sign-on. When you use any kind of platform, you interlink with your institution email with your research Gmail. The visibility of identical as you are expert on this field is very high lah. Means that you integrate your email, you create your profile properly, then you will known as a trusted researcher to be referred lah. Okay, next one is the Zenodo. When you use Zenodo here and you properly manage your content within the institutions, your view of the material get more enhanced rather than focus on certain traditional platform like Scopus, Direct and so on. Okay, so when you publish any kind of materials, case study whatsoever, and then you share again, you share again to the Zenodo, the view of the readings of material get more high impact. Okay, what? When you submit material, when you choose the open access here, the impact of the index within 2 weeks is very visible lah. Alright. However, if you use still closed access, restricted access, they view only small number, in small numbers. Okay. And when you choose the license in terms of declare this type of materials is internationally according to this contribution, the impact of viewer of index more high. Okay, this is example of Mendeley repository services for data, research data, and then this is traditional interface. Please not get confused. If you having a confused, get consultant for us and we will help you. We have expert Mendeley here. And I like to use Mendeley because it can be connected to my Scopus profile. Okay, if you having a